I wanted to do this short tutorial video to show you how to save a PSD file and a JPEG file of your project in Photoshop. So the first thing I'm going to do is I've got an image here on my desktop, and if you remember, I showed you guys how you can open a file in Photoshop. You can either control click and select open with, and then you can select Photoshop and it will open with Photoshop. The other way you can do it is to take your file and drag it down to Photoshop in the dock, and you'll see that icon of Photoshop, and just drop it in the icon and you'll see that it will open up that file in Photoshop. So from here, I'm going to revisit what we did in our last class just to make some layers. So I'm going to take my rectangular marquee tool here, and I'm just going to select his face, and I'm going to copy and paste that selection to make another layer. So I'm going to do that by using my keyboard shortcuts, which are Command C and Command V on a Mac. And you can see it made another layer on top of our image here, which is the background layer. So now that I have two layers here, this is where I want to go ahead and save a PSD file. And a PSD file is the native file that Photoshop saves, so it will retain your layers and everything that you've done in your file. So to do that, I'm going to go up here and I'm going to go to File. I'm going to go to Save As. And you're going to see this window pop up, and this lets us pick the destination that we're going to save it to. But for this tutorial, I'm just going to save it back to the desktop, and you can name that file whatever you like. So I'm just going to name this Portrait. And I've got it saved to my desktop here as my destination. But before we save it, you always want to go down here and make sure in your format right here, you see that, you'll see format. And it does say Photoshop there. And that's what's going to create our PSD file. And if you see anything else like a large document format or TIFF, you're going to want to change it back to Photoshop. And from there, I'm ready to save it. It's going to go onto my desktop and it will save a PSD file. This window will appear and you can just go ahead and hit OK on that. That's fine. And then you'll see that it did save this PSD file on my desktop. So now I want to show you how to save a JPEG file. So a JPEG file is a compressed file. And what a compressed file does is when you save out a JPEG, it will compress the size of that file. So a JPEG is just known as a compressed file. But when you save a JPEG out, what that does, along with being a compressed file, it will flatten all of your layers and it just will be one flat image. And that would be something that you could export to a client, or me in this case. We can do that by, again, going up to File. And this time we're going to go down and you'll see Save a Copy. And that's where you want to always go to save a JPEG, Save a Copy. So when you select Save a Copy, you'll see again this window pop up here. And this is where you can then again name it. But you can see how up here it says PSD still. Well, that means you need to change it to a JPEG, and you'll do this in Format. So when you click this drop-down menu, you can see there's various files you can save. You can save a PNG, and that would be normally used for web. You can save a GIF file out. There's a lot of options that you can save, but you'll see here JPEG, and this is what we'll choose. So now you can see that that extension has changed to .jpg, which is a JPEG, and you can see it puts copy there because we're saving it as a copy. You can rename that as you want, but that's going to be the default. It's going to add copy to the end of the name of your file. So again, I've selected desktop as my destination folder, and then everything's ready. We can hit save. So with JPEG, it's going to give you the option to select the quality of the compression that you want to give that JPEG. And you can either compress it to a really low percentage or really high. So you're never really going to want to do this down here because that's really going to reduce the quality of your image. So you can see when you slide up, it changes to medium, it changes to high, then it can change to maximum. But normally in everyday use, you can kind of keep it in the high range. Or if you go up to 10, it'd be a maximum. A lot of times I keep it at 10 here, and it's just a good average of a nice compression that's going to hold its quality of the image. So after you set that, you'll just hit OK. And there you go. I'm going to slide back over to my desktop here, and you can see that it has now saved a JPEG format. And you can see that extension ends with .jpg. Remember, when you save a Photoshop file out, it's going to have an extension of PSD, and you know that that retains all of our layers and elements that we've created in our document. That would be our main file or master file. And when you save a JPEG, you'll see .jpg, and you know that that's a JPEG, and that is the compressed flattened file. So that is how you save both a PSD file and a JPEG file out of Photoshop.